Hi, welcome to What and Series 15 and number 8. We're talking today about Jacob getting the blessing that Isaac had intended for Esau. And Jacob lies to his father, pretending that he's Esau. And here we go. We'll just take it up from here. So he went to his father and said, "My father," and he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you told me. Please arise and sit and eat of my game, that your soul may be blessed." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" And he said, "Because the Lord your God brought it to me." Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy like his brother's. So he blessed him. And then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." He said, "Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate. He brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come now and kiss me, my son." Okay, a couple of things to unpack here. He says, "I am Esau, your firstborn." Sometimes it is difficult for us to discern a lie from somebody else. And whether a statement is a sin or not comes back to the question of intent. This was a clear lie, with Jacob deliberately deceiving his father and doing it really for selfish gain. There's another lie in there, "Because the Lord your God brought it near to me." Jacob, being the scoundrel that he was, did not hesitate to give credit to God as part of his deception. Now, that's a scary thought process. Jacob did this because his greatest concern was for what worked, not for giving God credit. Since he knew that God wanted him to have the birthright, yes, we understand that. He justified any lie or any other sin that he committed in pursuit of that birthright. He probably told himself that this was all a righteous cause. How easy it is to get on a slippery slope. Jacob was not the last among God's people to use the promise and God's calling as an excuse to sin. He justified it to himself by saying his sinful conduct acted towards the fulfillment of the promise of God. We need to be really careful not to walk down that road. Notice it says there, "Are you really my son Esau?" Even under repeated questioning, Jacob didn't waver in his lie. Very, very deliberately. Partially, Jacob took advantage of his father's good nature. Isaac probably would not believe that his son, Jacob, would lie to him so repeatedly. The next part goes on, and this is the blessing that is given to Jacob. Verse 27 goes on, he said, "And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothing and blessed him and said, 'Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the field, which the Lord has blessed. Therefore may God give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you." Okay. Yeah, and he blessed him. Isaac blessed Jacob as the spiritual head of the family. Isaac had the right not Ishmael, remember that, to pass this blessing on in relation of the covenant of Abraham. The son, whether the son was either Jacob or Esau, would have received this blessing and been able to pass it on to his own descendants. Now, only Jacob could do that. May God give you the dew of heaven, or of the fatness of the earth. The words of the blessing were filled with pictures of the Lord's rich bounty, and they echoed some of the words of the covenant that God gave to Abraham way back in Genesis chapter 12. There's an interesting part here where it says, "Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you." It should again be noticed that this wasn't the bestowal of these words over Jacob that made him blessed. Instead, Jacob was blessed because God chose him before Esau and him were born. Remember, that's back in Genesis 25 and verse 23. What mattered was that God said the older would serve the younger, not that Isaac said, "Be master over your brethren." The point is that the sovereign will of God is done in spite of our or anybody else's opposition. We need to remember that. And we also need to remember that we don't assist God by being deceptive.